Alright, so this is going to be a demo of the process from capturing photos to go into a synth program. In this case, I'm going to be using photosynth, all the way to importing the data into Maya and then creating the layered projections in Nuke. So the first thing you want to do, obviously, is capture your footage. And I just pulled some example footage that someone else took, but it's the same basic idea. So let's see. Okay, so here's just someone took a bunch of photos of this soda can, and my goal was to use layered projections to fully texture the a model of the can that I would make. So the process of shooting is pretty simple. You want to have a lot of overlap. There's the photosynth guide for specifics on the exact minimum requirements of shooting, but here's an example, just run through the pictures. Basically, you're just getting a lot of overlap, and you need that also for when you're layering your projections where they stretch. You want to replace it with something that obviously is full resolution from that angle. So basically, what I did with this is I downloaded the Photosynth toolkit, which I'll have a link for, and you can do this with a bunch of different software, but for this case, basically, you download your photos through the kit, and let me open up the Photosynth toolkit to show you what that is. Alright, so the Photosynth toolkit looks like this. First thing you do is you click Download Synth. Then what you do is you go to the Photosynth website, and you'll have your own My Photosynths. So what you do is you would, like, for example, if this was my Photosynth, I would just copy the address, and then I would set a save folder on my desktop, and then I would just paste in, like, I guess I'll just do one really quick as a demo. So you set your save location where it's going to download the stuff to, and you just paste in here and hit OK. And I don't want to download it because it's a bunch, but I'll ask if you want to download the thumbnails in HD. In this case, you only need the HD. The thumbnails is just if you want to do a quick test, but we'll be using the HD pictures. So yeah. And then the next thing you do is this right here is if you want to see your Photosynth point cloud. It'll just open up a little program, and you can make sure that everything looks right. And then the last step is prepare for PMVS2. And for that, you want to go to the location that your photos saved to, and you'll have all these folders here. Thumbs are empty, obviously. HD is where your photos are going to be, so you want to copy all your photos and paste them into the distort, and what it's going to do is it's going to undistort all your photos based on the information captured in the data of each individual photo. So you take your HD photos and you drop it in the distort folder. Once you do that, then you want to click prepare for PMVS2, and it's going to run through this whole process. You just got to wait. And then once that finishes, you hit this launch PMVS2 or PMVS can synth in this case. And then what that does is it generates your point cloud, and also a bunch of other information related to it, and that will save in this bin folder. It's going to save as a .ply and .bundle or a bundle.out. The PLYs are just the individual information, like one's cameras, one's a point cloud with cameras. We want the full system, so we want the bundle.out. It's going to have everything. So once you get to this phase, essentially you just want to open up Maya, and I'll go ahead and do that right now. And I'm using a script from the demo of this map painting toolkit, and basically what I'm using it for is actually importing the data into Maya so it can read it, and also it has a really nice interface for importing all of the projections and linking them automatic to the camera, setting everything up really, really quickly, which you'd otherwise have to do that part manually. So you can basically just abuse the demo for the script and the UI. I'll have the link to the download for that, and it also comes with install instructions. You basically just copy a bunch of folders over into certain directories, and then once you have it, once you have your open that all set up, then you'd hit the script editor, and you'd want to source the script. In this case, I dropped the script in the scripts folder, so it's this one. There's one for V-Ray, but we're just using MetalRay, so I'll just use the first one. And then it brings up this little window right here. And for this, what you want to do is you want to go to File, Import, and then you want to browse to where you saved your, or where your bundle.out was saved to. In this case, I'll use my photosynth test I already have here, and it's in the bin directory like I showed you. And sometimes it'll create two separate systems depending on, you know, if it can't combine everything, it'll be like two separate systems. You just usually want to hit the first one. When I hit that, and I'll say automatically create projections from dataset, I want to say yes, and just leave this default because we're not actually using the program. Now at this point, what you want to do is you have to enter this information correctly. Now the image width is the size of your images, so in this case my images are 4368 wide. So you type in the width there, and then the sensor size is going to be the camera sensor size that you used. In this case, I usually just go to like Google and I type in like whatever camera was used, sensor size, dimensions, and then I'll just enter that in here. Now I don't remember what camera sensor size this was for, so I'm actually just going to open up my other project, which already has it. So basically, once you enter that information, then you just hit like OK, and it's going to automatically create your point cloud, your cameras, and link all the photos to the correct cameras. And see, projection tests. Okay. So this one's already done. And it can take a while. If you have a lot of cameras, it can take a while to read everything out. So as you can tell here, there's like a ton of cameras, so it's going to generate like this huge mess of stuff. Basically, immediately after it sets everything up, I open up the outliner, and I actually will take all the cameras and I will group them, and then I'll just like hide them. Sometimes the cameras and everything will come in sideways. Basically, you just like select everything, group it, and rotate it to fit the world space. And then it also generates this point cloud. Here, I'll go ahead and see. So I've got the cameras, I'll hide those. And then it's going to generate, it's going to be really laggy, obviously. So it'll generate this point cloud, which is going to be basically a bunch of sprites with like some, you know, it's going to kind of like match the pixel color of a few pixels, and you'll kind of be able to see the general shape of what you're looking at. And it also creates a bunch of locators. So usually I just use the point cloud because it's a lot more clear and it doesn't lag as much. So like as you can tell, here's my ground plane. If I hide my can, you can see there's the shape of the can, and then I basically just insert my model to basically fit loosely to this point cloud. And then the other really cool thing about this is if you use even just the demo of the matte painting toolkit, you can use it to actually see your projections in the viewport real time. So that's what I do as well. Like I'll make a rough model, and then I'll start looking through my camera projection. So you just hit like the arrow here to view your projection from through whatever camera, and I'll go ahead and show my model again. And so for this case, it's from this angle and it's projecting onto my geometry. Basically, I would just line up my geometry at this point, looking through one camera at a time until it matched up perfectly. And I knew my model was exactly what I wanted it to be. And so at that point, I basically would just select my cameras. And the one thing I noticed I had to do, because Nuke wouldn't interpret the grouping position transformations, is I would take my cameras, I would freeze their transformations, and then I would remove them from their group. So in this case, I have all my cameras here. I would actually select all my cameras and drag them up and out, and then I would select all my cameras. I'd select my CAN model, and then I would go to File, Export Selection Option Box, and I would go to set it to a FBX, and let's see, there should be an option for exporting your animations. So let me see, edit preset animation. So you want to make sure that animation is checked. That way your animated render camera information will be saved so that Nuke can read that. Otherwise it'll just come in with no animation on it. So that's what you're going to want to do for that. And then if you just export it, in this case I already have an exported version of it, and then you just get out of Maya, and now you want to open up Nuke. And I'll go and open up my Nuke project I already set up. Okay, so when you initially start up Nuke, you're going to want to create your scene. So I got the scene node, scanline render, and my render camera, and I'm referencing the render camera from my Maya file. Okay, and the way you do that is just read from file, search for your FBX, done. And then you want the read geo node, so that's linked up to the read geo. You want to reference your FBX again, and you're going to want to select on the read geo. You'll get an option for all objects. You want to check all objects. It's going to import all your cameras and all of your geometry that that was included in the scene. So again, make sure in your FBX you're just exporting your cameras and geometry when you export to an FBX. And then from there, I create my first projection. And the way that this works is I imported a series of images that I thought had some overlap to them based on the movement of my render camera. So I set up my first projection. You can see it's image 0, 0, 0, 0, but it's actually camera 1 in terms of how it's being referenced from the Maya scene. So when you actually set up, your cameras are set up where they start at 1. So image 0 correlates with camera 1, image 1 correlates with camera 2. So it's always, whatever your image number is, it's +1 to the camera. And the other thing to note is, even though we had all our images undistorted, we're still using our original images for all of these projections because they're being undistorted by the camera information in Maya. So one thing to note is when you are actually putting your images in the source images folder of Maya to link to your cameras, when you're setting that up in Maya, make sure you use your original photos, which are saved in the HD folder, not your undistorted photos, which will be saved in a separate folder. You might not even find it, so that's probably fine. But yeah, always want to use your original photos. Okay, so setting up my first projection in Nuke, I basically use a project 3D node, and I want to set this to front. And the reason why I set it to front is because what it's going to do is it's going to make the portion of the projection where it stretches, it's going to make it invisible. And that's important so that if you ever have any cameras intersecting at a certain point, it's not going to ruin another projection. So that's the reason for that. And then I referenced my first camera, read from file, the FBX, and in this case, camera 1 for image 0. Alright, now at this point, looking through my render camera, like you could see how that's projecting, and it's obviously it breaks at this point. Now I want to have a full rotation, so I'm going to want to layer another projection like right around here where it breaks, somewhere like in this area. So what I do for that is I set up another projection that I look through. So now I'm just like ignoring this first projection, and I'm going to this next projection at this exact like area of this exact frame, looking through my render cam, where it'll fill in like the next bit of information, and I'll set that up. So what I'll do is I'll just, you know, bring in an image that I think is probably the right one, and then I'll set it up the same way as my first projection, reference the camera that correlates with the image, and then I'll look at it and I'll be like, yeah, that fits. And then what I'll do at this point is I will go back to my first projection. I'll render out a still frame of this projection. So I've already got a still frame looking through the render camera of my first projection, and then I'll link it to my second projection, and I'll again render out a still frame of this projection. Okay, and from there, what I want to do is I want to open up Photoshop, and I'll show you what the process looks like here. So I actually have my projection Photoshop setup saved. Okay, so in this case, what I end up having is, let me see, I don't have my original. I'll just bring in the first image here. Okay, so we'll just say this is my first image. Oh yeah, but that's not going to work because I rendered it from the render camera. Here, I'll open up another one that actually has it. So, okay, so in this case, here's my original image right here. Oops. Alright, so this is my original image. You can see it's like a broken projection. It's not the one that I was specifically looking at in Nuke, but this is like another one, same scenario. And I'll go ahead and I'll overlay my other projection on top of it. And in this case, I have a mask. And I basically just use the paintbrush and just whatever else to blend them together. So, see, if I disable it, you could see that obviously I can't just simply project the other one on top. I actually have to create an alpha channel for it, otherwise it's going to overlap the other projection, and I want to dictate where this new projection is going to show up on the model. So that's basically the process here, is you take your original projection, you overlay the new one on top of it. You can like bring the opacity down a little bit, or whatever works. I can't remember exactly what I did. I think I kind of just I would start by just cutting out a section that I knew was going to be there, and then I would just start chipping away at it until it blended together. And then from there, essentially, what you want to do is make any adjustments. Like there was like a slight, it would be like slight exposure differences and whatnot. So you just want to kind of match it up as close as you can in Photoshop. And then once you have this complete right here, you're just going to want to save it out as like a PNG or a Targa, whatever you want to use. Whatever's going to keep the alpha channel information. You want to make sure that you disable your original one. So it's going to look like this. Alright, you're going to want to save this out as a PNG or a Targa, anything that has alpha. And then, so for that, like here's my second projection. It looks like this, okay? And then what you want to do is you want to bring that in, replace your original projection here, And then you actually want to change your projection camera as well, because what we're doing is we're not projecting, like we're looking through the render camera, so you want to replace this projection camera that you used originally to when you're looking through the projection camera that was linked to your Maya file. You want to replace that with your render camera. So what I do is I'll just copy my render camera at this frame, and so I'll just show you like basically what it looks like. Okay, so I'll copy my render camera, and I'll go to the camera, and I'll just like unreference it so it's not being read from the file, and I'll go to, it'll basically just save. There's no animation on it or anything. It'll just create a new camera at that exact location, and I'll replace my projection camera with this camera, because of course when we were overlaying we were looking through the render camera, so it's being projected through the render camera. Okay, so this projection 2 right here is one that I already set up like that, and now it's projecting that image that I blended in Photoshop through the render camera at that position, and it's going to fill in that new gap or whatever. So then you just basically continue the process until you can get 360-degree movement with the camera and complete like the entire projection. So and to link each projection on top of the other, use the merge material node. It should always be the first projection underneath the next projection, and you just continue it forward until you're done, and then from there you can make all the adjustments you need. I also have like the full steps listed in this file as well, so you could just look at that if you need clarification. So, and also, like if you just look in the 3D space, you could see exactly what's going on here. So you have like basically all these cameras set up full circle around the object, projecting onto it, and then you have your actual render camera, which is just animating around that. So pretty simple.